options one for a recurring income channel, and that's exactly what I try to do on this channel. I try to sell some options and make a recurring income. And last week I made a little money, and this week we'll have to see how I do at the end of the week to see. But just to recap, I generally make money for the month. It's pretty rare I actually lose money for the month. Something really weird has to happen. So I'd just like to walk you through what I'm going to do for this week and my thought process. Now, last week, if you remember, I'd sold some calls, and those calls got called away. But I still got to keep the premium. I got paid for the shares, and that's what it's all about. You just don't worry about those shares getting called away unless it's really close and it's worth buying it back to sell new calls. Now, last week it was not. So I told you that once those got called away, I would simply do a new trade this week, in which I forgot that Monday was a holiday, so now it's Tuesday. And I said that I would just turn right back around and sell puts, which is exactly what I have done. So I'll stand up and go over what I did and walk you through my thought process. All right, so as you can see, last week I have my trades up here. I've erased January's. So from February the 10th through the 14th, I made $143. Now that's working with roughly, what do I have? That's working with roughly about $6,000 cash to sell cash secured puts on. I do have all of these over here, which I show occasionally. I do need to update the percentages. Those are all my long calls, leaps, if you will, that I have purchased from selling calls and puts. So I made $143 last week. And then if you remember, Friday we had that big up spike. I was expecting SoFi to close in the $15 range, and it closed over $16. So we had a spike. Friday we opened this morning with a very large spike up to around 17. And I kind of debated whether to sell calls then, see if we pulled back. Sell my puts then, see if we pull back. And I decided just to go ahead and sell the puts then, and I did. And so what I did is I sold to open 3 $17 puts. Now that's for this Friday, and that was at 47.47 gets multiplied by 100, of course. So that's $47 per. So that's basically $150 that I got paid here. Now I don't know how much of that I will get to keep until Friday rolls around. Now, since we had the big spike up Friday and the big spike this morning, I did decide to go ahead and keep with my 3-to-1 ratio. I usually do a 4-to-1 or a 3-to-1. I almost didn't do this one. Almost. I debated it. And then I decided to do it. And I bought to open one 1650 put as a downward hedge, just as a little protection. So basically this, if you look at this, this basically has me buying shares for $16.50. And as of the making of this video, the stock price is roughly $17. But you don't know what that's going to look like Friday. It may be way higher, it may be way lower. So I did decide to purchase one put just as a little downward hedge. And of course, that's for this Friday, and I paid $24 for it. So that kind of eats into your profits just a little bit, but it is a good hedge. So basically 150 minus 25, rough math, that's roughly $125 here that I may potentially make this week if I don't take any action. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. So my thought process is always revolves around, should I or should I not get a hedge if I'm selling puts? I felt like with the spike up Friday, the spike this morning, that does set us up for some possible downward pressure, although you never know. So I did just go ahead and buy one put just in case. Now I wouldn't have any problem at all buying shares here for $16.50 and just, not purchasing this. But I went ahead and did that. Now, always remember when you're selling calls or when you're selling puts, you just have to remember the terminology. You're selling to open, okay? Or you're buying to open. Now, since I'm selling this, I'm getting paid. I actually need to put that in red, don't I? Yeah, that's a good example here because I bought to open. I actually need to change this to red because I'm buying it to open. So I guess I should scoot that over just a little bit. Sorry for not already having this done. So I bought to open. Should probably change this to red too. You just have to remember the terminology, and until you get used to the terminology, most traders do find this just a little bit confusing because they're not used to opening. They're not used to buying. Mercy, I'll get that right in a minute. They're not used to selling to open and buying to close and things like that. I finally got that right. So bought to open one 1650 put for this Friday for $24, and that's just a very small hedge. Just in case, whatever, SoFi breaks down. Alexa's telling me my timer's going off upstairs. Alexa, turn that off. I was boiling some eggs, and I'd put a timer on, so I need to go up there and turn that off. But anyway, basically that's what I'm going to do today. Now, unless I take action, now let's just pretend. Let's pretend SoFi just jumps up to 18. I would most likely close this, lock in my profits, and I would most likely sell that, most likely, or I may just let that ride in case it was a big pullback, because it won't be worth much. It may be worth like $2 or $3 or $4. So unless I take action, then you're pretty much looking at what I will make this week, assuming no action. But SoFi could also drop. It could drop down to $16. And if it does, you know, as far as premium, I really won't end up making anything if I have to buy that back. So what you're looking for is, the way I set these trades up, you're looking for moves that are not really large in either direction. Once you start getting over a 10% move up or a 10% move down, the way that I structure my trades, it gets a little funny how to do that. Alexa, turn that timer off. 12-minute timer stopped on Kevin's. Okay, so I got that off finally. So as I'm doing these videos, you know, I never know what you guys know or what you're looking for. So if there's something in particular you're really looking for, or something in particular you really want to know, just drop me a question down at the bottom. I'll consider doing a video over it, or just answering in the chat or something like that. So hopefully we have a good week this week. You never know what the future is going to hold. I do think SoFi is a great stock for the long term. I think it's almost the perfect stock to sell calls and puts on, which is why I chose it. Anyway, thanks for stopping in, guys, and until next time.